Hello and welcome to episode 4 of building my first model railway. This week I've been looking at doing some scenics work, and as you can see on my table here, I've been experimenting with making some hedges. I've seen some other YouTubers showing how to make hedges out of Brillo pads, which look really good, but I had some of this Hello Fresh packaging, which is it's like woolen, but I think it's like a recycled plastic fiberglassy type thing that's used to keep your food cold, but it sort of has the same sort of texture as a Brillo pad, I suppose. So I thought might be able to have a go at using this. So you can see in front I've had a few little attempts, which are okay, but I'm gonna try and do some more. These are a little bit too uniform, almost like topiary hedges. So I'm going to try and do the same sort of thing, but make it a little bit more natural, because I want it to be sort of line side hedging, and not like a garden hedge. But as you can see, I think actually the effect is pretty good. So hopefully I'll be able to make some really natural looking ones now. So I'll just start by cutting out the piece that I've done here, and as you can see it's quite thick. So I normally cut this in half, just to give it the right sort of thickness. Be about be about 4 mil, so it'd be about a foot thick, which is what you'd expect a hedge to be. So just cut it down the middle. It doesn't really need. I actually quite like this side because it's slightly more fluffy, so more like a hedge would be. So that's about the right thickness, I'd say. Maybe actually that one's even better, slightly thinner. So stop by doing that, and then I just, this time, as opposed to just cutting it nice and low, I'm just going to try and cut some little bits into it and make it a little bit more rough and just a little bit more random looking. Don't looking too like it's been cut. Not being a hairdresser. So I'm going to tear it because I prefer it to look, don't want it to look like it's actually been cut with scissors. Doesn't look too uniform, but that's it's probably a bit better there. I'll go down a little bit lower here. So I think it's looking pretty good. Let's take that bit off there. Yeah, looking pretty. Just wanted to look like a randomly grown hedge and not one that's been trimmed with a hedge trimmer. I mean, they do that on the railways, do they? So that's looking a bit good. That's probably about 4 to 6 foot hedge by the looks of it along there. So now next job is I'm going to paint it and then cover it in scatter. So what I've done in front of you, can see I've got a number of different trial versions. So I had this one which isn't painted at all, so it's just a PVA and then some different coloured scatter put on it. Little bits come off there, but you can still see it through. And you see that one actually is slightly browner, with this actually white. Then we've got this one here, which is just a bit of green acrylic paint put on the other side and then dipped in scatter. Then I've got this one, which is brown acrylic, then put in some scatter. Don't know where you can see that, bring a bit closer. And then my favourite was this one here. This one is brown and green dabbed on, and then dipped in some scatter as well, and I think that gives the effect, you know. It's so yeah, so that's what I'm going to go for, is a bit of green and a bit of brown, and then some scatter. These are a bit dark actually. Looking at my back screen, it's sort of a summer back screen from Gauge Master, you might have seen on the previous video, and that's quite light, so when you put these against it, it looks a bit dark. So I'm actually going to make these a little bit lighter for my railway itself. So I'm just going to get the paints out and paint the screen, and I'll come back to you when it's finished and show you it. Okay, so these are my piece of hedge that's been painted with some different coloured greens and a bit of brown in there. And that's now dried, so I think now I'm literally just going to put some scatter. So I've just got some Scale Scenics I've got there, I don't know if you can see. So we get the camera, so yeah, some medium green, some summer grass, which I need to actually open that one, and some dark green, and then I've got some flockage as well. So I was literally just going to layer this on. I'm going to start with the dark first, and then I've just got a bit of PVA and a paintbrush. So I'm literally just going to layer this on and hopefully just cover up most of the green paint actually with the scatter. Let that dry and see how that looks, and hopefully similar to the ones I did previously, which I'll show you there. Hopefully these will work out just similar, but a little bit more natural looking, because I've cut the shapes into the edges of them and fluffed them up on that a bit. So just gonna open the, if I can, get the lid stuck on, there you go. Open the PVA, whack some of that all over it. Start with this one, so give that a good covering. I found even with the first one, it soaks in quite a lot. It's quite surprising how much soaks into the fibre. But it's quite nice because then it seems to set and makes them quite strong then and quite rigid, so you can obviously glue them up like the hedges that they are, hopefully onto the layout. So yeah, just put a bit more on like that. I've seen sometimes some people use hairspray or fixing spray, but I think I'm just going to stick with PVA for now because that's what I've got. So just scatter that all over there like that. Tap that down a little bit. And just a little bit on the edge. So hopefully you can see that now that it's pretty much done now. Just finally a few little bits off the sprinkles off it. And let the PVA dry. And see how that looks in a few hours when it's dried up and hardened up, hopefully. So these are my finished hedges, dried now, the PVA's dried and the paint's dried, and I'm really quite pleased with them actually. I think the effect of a bush is pretty good. Show this one up on edge. So, and then the aim is that a certain place on the backdrop there. And now that I'm ready to scenic it, I'll use them first to just blend that in. So hopefully just a bit of PVA. As you can see there, it blends in really well. Really pleased with that. Yeah, just a bit of finish off around there. And I might put the odd bush in as well. But yeah, it's pretty good. So I'll still glue them in and show you the finish in a minute. That's all my hedging now in place, and a bit of scatter on the track. The ballasting all done in that area. And actually I think it blends in pretty well with the background. Certainly a lot better than it was. So I think for a rookie first attempt, I'm really pleased with that really. Yeah, it fits it quite nice. I think in hindsight, if I were to relay the track again, I would leave a bigger gap between the background and the track itself, but because I wanted it to be quite tight to the wall, I haven't left much room to sort of do any scenic behind it. So it's sort of the best I can do is just make it blend in, so I'm pretty pleased with that. I think all it now needs is a little train to pass it by. So yes, I've gone and done it and bought another DCC loco, this time a TTS sound. I really want to know what a steam locomotive would sound like on my layout. I couldn't really afford the more expensive Bachmann with the full DCC sound, so I thought I'd try the Hornby TTS, which is a bit more reasonably priced, and this is the Mallard A4 Railroad. And I've bought 3 coaches. They probably aren't the right coach to go with it, but at least they're the right era just to go with it. And again, they're railroad, not that expensive. They're quite nice inside, but the roofs I think are a bit shiny and a bit new. So one day when I've got the bravery and the skills to do weathering, I might try and weather them. But for now, they'll do. So yeah, I've got this TTS Mallard, and I've got to say I'm pretty pleased with it, even compared to the Bachmann Whiskey Galore set that I had previously, and you'll see that on a previous video. The sound on this is, if anything, I'd say it's better. It's certainly quite a bit louder than the diesel, and I wouldn't really know it's a cheaper version of the chip. So you just saw it running just now, and it's got all the usual functions. But I think the actual sound is pretty good. So I'll just start her up and you can hear it again. That's quite good. And if I just start to accelerate, it's a little bit jolty. Hasn't been that running yet. I'll try to run it a bit. So a little bit more. Still trying to go up an incline as well. I'm not sure it's going to come out on the video, but the sound is really loud in this Hornby. Let's try a bit more. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that as another DCC locomotive and a cheaper TTS version. After a while the sound will get on the nerves, but coming to my new scenic area. What I have noticed with this locomotive as well, because it's only the second DCC loco I've got, is that this one is far more responsive. It's not quite as responsive as a normal DC locomotive. You know, it takes a little time to respond to the controller, but certainly a lot quicker to speed up and to slow down than the Class 20 Bachmann, which is probably more realistic, but actually quite difficult to control because you can never get it to stop where you want it to stop. So I think this is probably better. I'm guessing you can change it with the CV values, looking at other videos people put up, but my poor old little basic Bachmann EZ Command doesn't have the facilities to do that, so I'm just going to have to live with it at the moment. But all in all, pleased with my second DCC locomotive, and it's been running well. As you can see here, because I've still got DC as well wired in, what I've done at the moment is the outside track is purely for the DCC, and then the inside track and the shunting yards and that are still wired up to my DC controller. I'm fortunate because I haven't, they are electronically, that's the right word, electrically separate. The only connection I've got between the two tracks is this crossover here, and I don't know if you can see there, but I've got insulation joiners between the two, so there's no risk of any short circuit, or hopefully there's no risk of any short circuit between the two rails, so I can run them separately. Obviously I can't cross anything over at the moment. So since I'm going to be running both systems for a while, because I've got still quite a few of my old DC locomotives, I'm either going to do that or maybe have an option where I can switch from one to the other. I've seen a few YouTube videos on how to do that as well, so that might be another option. But yeah, for now, really pleased. Hope you found this episode useful. If so, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of my track as it develops. Thanks very much, and hopefully I'll speak to you again soon.